What's up, guys? Welcome back to Money So Tasty. Let's all get a taste of capital. Now, summer is almost here. I know it's very quick. We don't get much of a spring. We get winter, cold, and boom, it's super hot. Summer is almost here. Summer is almost here, which means it's back to CFA season. A lot of fellows have been asking, should I take the CFA program? Is CFA right for me? If I take the CFA journey, does it guarantee or does it get me closer to this golden path to high-paying jobs with no overtime? Now, we're going to cover more about CFA in our future contents or future episodes. But today, I just want to focus on the two most biggest, baddest pitfalls or traps relating to CFA. Make sure you watch this video before you start the CFA journey. At the end of this video, we'll also do a little unboxing of this little gift. So if you become a charter holder, the CFA Institute is going to send you this little gift, right? It's very unlikely because over the past 3-4 years, right, if you do the CFA program, you have been putting money to them. You probably spent $3,000 to $4,000 US dollars, by the way. It's good for them to finally do something in the change and send you something. So we're going to see what exactly is in this little gift. Now, if this is your first time to our channel, this channel is all about sharing on your journey to financial freedom. What are the money-making or investing mindset you want to have? And what are the common pitfalls, just like those two we mentioned, you want to avoid? So if you want to become financially free with us naturally, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to our channel so you will never miss another pie in the sky. And make sure you give this video a thumbs up and open your notification settings. Now, super quickly, what exactly is CFA? CFA stands for Chartered Financial Analyst. It's one of the most important, if not the most important, financial designation in wealth management, asset management, and just investments in general. It's very popular now, and a lot of companies are putting the CFA designation or progress towards a CFA designation directly in the job description. So we're going to cover more about CFA program, what it's all about in our future episodes. Today, we just focus on the two pitfalls or the two traps. Now, how did I find out about those two biggest traps? I'm speaking from my own personal experiences when I took the CFA journey back in the days, not that long ago, I'm still young. And as well as my students over the years, as well as people around me who have been observing taking the CFA exams. Now, before we start, I just want to make a quick note. So for the following two traps, try to focus on the concepts, try to focus on the idea, the scenario, and the stories. Try to see if probably applies to you or if applies to people around you. Don't worry about the exact data accuracy. This is not a statistic course. Don't worry about the statistical significance because after all, it's better to be approximately right than precisely wrong. So just focus on the idea, the concept, and the story. All right, let's go. Number one, the biggest trap I'm seeing with people is when people start the CFA journey, when they say, hey, I want to take a look at the CFA program. I want to see if this is right for me. I'm kind of interested. They didn't set the goal. Most people don't set the goal to become a CFA charter holder. For some people, they just want to try it out. They feel like they have a little bit of extra time, right? What should I do with this extra time? I might as well just take some CFA courses, learn more, and try to set myself apart. For some people, their goal might be to just pass level 1 of the exam. And after they fail, let's say level 1 or level 2, they just give up. Now, if you do that, then you did not really get the full value of this out of the CFA program, right? You did not become a CFA charter holder. The CFA program is designed to train people to become CFA charter holders, right? It's not designed to just give you some information so you can take level 1 of the exam and be done with it. Because more importantly, what the program does is training you to use what you learned and apply with your real world experience, work experience, which is why it requires 48 months of real investment related work experience. And it's building you a habit of continuous learning. So you know, as a charter holders, myself included, we continue to learn all the time past the charter holder point, right? You still have to learn doing your work. You have to learn after work. So it's about building that habit of continuous learning. Now, if you give up before you become a CFA charter holder, then you really don't get the full benefit of this program. Let's give an example. Let's say you want to become a doctor. which is a very honorable profession, especially given the current environment. Usually very well respected and well paid. That's going to be very different from just taking one medical course or course on biology or memorizing the periodic table and passing one level of the exam, right? That's very different. People are not going to view and treat you as a doctor just because you took one or two biology courses and can memorize in the periodic table. Same thing, people are not going to treat you as a CFA Charterholder. They're not going to pay you as a CFA Charterholder if you just take level 1 of the course, if you just pass one level of the exam, or if you just registered for the exams. Now, speaking of giving up in the progress, what do you think is the dropout rate from, let's say, a person when they say, I want to become a CFA Charterholder, to the point they actually become a CFA Charterholder? Well, from our experience, we taught about over 1,000 students in the last couple of years, and here's what we have been seeing. Let's say 200 students or 200 fellows, they say, I want to take the CFA route. How many people do you think in the end will become CFA Charterholders? Think about it. Depending on your expectation, the answer might just, surprise you or do not surprise you. It's kind of like having 200 Spartan soldiers, Spartan men and women, eager to go to war, and then ask how many people will actually make it back from that. So from our experience, out of 200 students, how many people actually register for level 1 exam? Probably only about half of that. So 100 people. Why? Because when you put your money down, right? We have a saying, put your money where your mouth is. When they start to put their money down, they start to get real. They start to think, wow, this is real. I'm really going to do this. And some people just drop out. Or maybe they got turned off by the registration fees, which is a heck load of money. Right, just to registering for level 1, it's about 1,000 to 1,500 US dollars. So maybe they got turned off by the fees. So only 100 people register in the end. Now, how many people do you think will show up to the level 1 exam? You'll probably think, well, 100 people paid, they probably all show up, right? Since they already sort of invested their time and money into this. But I'll tell you from experience is probably only about 80 people will show up actually to the level 1 exam. Some people will drop out in the end. Some people will, when they are studying for this exam, they might think, well, this is too hard. Not going to do it. Some people might get sick. So in the end, only really 80 people show up to the exam. Now we're going to talk about the pass rate. So level 1, in general, it's roughly about 40% to 50% for the official pass rate. For my students and people around me, I tend to see a little bit higher because they invested a little more time and efforts into it. So probably around 60 to 80%. But to keep the math simple, we'll just say 50%. So 80 people registered, showed up to level 1 exam, 40 people would pass. Between level 1 and level 2 is where we see a lot of dropouts. And that's because some people say, hey, level 1 is probably good enough. I have level 1, I can put on my resume, it sets myself apart, good enough. Or some people might, when they register for level 2, they thought about, wow, level 2 is so much harder, right? We're going to talk about the difficulty of those levels in the future. But level 2 is exponentially harder than level 1. So maybe that's a reason as well. And also it's an extra year. So people gone by probably have changed their mind in between. So out of 40 people who pass level 1, probably only 20 people will register for level 2. Once people register for level 2, we're seeing people are mostly tend to be committed. So those 20 people are all mostly going to show up to their exam. And so we go to the level 2 pass rate, which roughly it's about 50%. So 10 people made it through level 2. At this point, people tend to be committed, right? Students are saying, right, because I already invested 2/3 of this journey. I invested a lot of money and time into it. Let's get this done. So let's say those 10 people all registered for level 3, all went to the level 3 exam times the 50% of pass rate. So now we're down to 5 people who passed level 3 of the exams. And then we have the 48 months of direct investment related work experience. Then you have to have 3 references who are going to vouch for you, who know your work experience, and you have to write up the application. And in the end, we'll probably only see 2 to 3 become actual charter holders. So you see from 200 people to finally 2 to 3 people becoming charter holders. Now, from this point, you can also see the CFA Charterholder is really an important designation because it shows, right, you have beat those people. You have went through this process, which is very rigorous. So it's really about 1 in 100. Now, we're talking about 100 people who actually want to do the CFA route, right? Let alone there are lots of people out there who don't want to even do the CFA program. So whenever I see this, I'm sort of surprised and not surprised at the same time because this is how it works, right? It reminds me of that scene in Game of Thrones final season where all the soldiers are going to attack the White Walkers, right? When the Night King arrives to the castle. And we start with the Dothraki soldiers and their blades are lit with fire and they go woo all the way into the war. And in the end, you see the sound slowly die down and just a few soldiers coming back. It's sort of similar. So make sure you avoid trap number 1, which is if you want to take the CFA program, make sure you start with the goal to become a CFA Charterholder. Make sure you be persistent and get it done. Otherwise, you're just there to pay exam fees and CFA Institute will happily take it. Now, moving along to the second trap or pitfall that we're seeing. Now, a lot of students would say, okay, I got it. I will be committed. I will be persistent. I want to become a CFA Charterholder. That's great. But the second trap you want to avoid is you don't want to bet everything on the CFA program. What do I mean by that? Most people, when they start the CFA program, I think one of their main goals is to get a good job, right? You want to get a high-paying job, a high-salary job without too much overtime. You want to get career advancement. However, you want to understand the CFA program is very time-consuming. In fact, it's about 300 hours per level is the official study time needed to pass each exam. So 3 levels, you're looking at 900 hours. Now, a lot of people probably don't have an idea what exactly is 300 hours or 900 hours. So think back to your university first year. Each course, how long does each course take in terms of the course hours? It's probably about 25 to 30 hours. So let's say 30 hours. So in a term, you're probably taking 5 courses. In 2 terms, you're probably taking 10 courses. 30 hours each, times 10 courses, you're looking at 300 hours. So each level of the CFA exam corresponds to roughly about 1 year of university study. So 3 levels of the CFA exam, it's probably roughly about 3 years into the university, which is why it's very challenging to do because it has the breadth. It has lots of different subjects from statistics to capital management to financial reporting analysis, and it also has the depth. So on each subject, it goes pretty deep, which is why it makes passing the CFA exam so much more challenging, but it's a lot of time. So you really need to ask yourself, am I spending my time in the most efficient way? Which means, let's say if I only have 300 to 400 hours to spare, should I spend that much on a CFA program without doing the other things? And what do I mean by the other things? I'm talking about those activities that you probably need to do that probably doesn't cost you nearly as much as 300 hours, but can give you a lot of results in terms of looking for the job you want. For example, resume. You could spend, let's say, 10 hours on your resume to make sure it's sparkling clean, right? All the bullet points, all the formats, all the stories behind it. Spend the 10 hours to make sure your resume looks good. Or you can practice for your interview, right? Write down your answers to probably the most common 5 questions you think will probably get asked and just practice it, right? Each answer you want to, let's say, 2 minutes. You want to have a 2-minute answer to that question, 5 questions, it's 10 minutes. Now, in 10 hours, you can practice those answers 60 times. Or if you want to practice for more questions, you can probably practice them 20 to 30 times in a 10-hour time frame. Or you can spend 10 hours on getting and understanding about that industry, that position you're looking for by doing some research, by asking people out, by doing some coffee chats. Now, it's probably hard to do coffee chat right now given COVID-19. It's probably more like a Zoom call or just a good old telephone call. But in 10 hours, because you don't want to take too much of their time, and you probably don't have that much time too. So let's say 20 minutes is enough for you to have a conversation with a prospect in that industry. So if you spend 10 hours, you can really talk to 30 people, which will give you a lot of information about that industry, about that position, and it can really make you stand out in that interview because it shows, one, you're committed, you're willing to put in the time, And they will probably think once you get the job, you're willing to put the same amount, if not more time into this job as well, which will make you successful. And two, you have a methodology of connecting people and getting information, which is probably important in that role as well. And certain position might require you to do a stock pitch, which is to understanding about a company, what's good about it, what's bad about it, should I buy or sell, what is the target price and valuation for this stock. And you can probably spend 10 hours in choosing the right stock and coming up with a really concise and powerful pitch. Or you could spend 10 hours to build some kind of a financial model, for example, a valuation model. That allows you to show during an interview, not just tell during an interview. So now you see, you just 50 to 60 hours, you have perfected your resume and your interviewing questions. You have interviewed 30 people or coffee chatted or Zoom chatted 30 people in that industry for you to understand about that industry and position. And you have prepared you something so you can show people, show the interviewers during that interview. It could be a stock pitch or a financial model. And you have only spent 50 to 60 hours. So make sure when you're considering doing the CFA program, you don't just bet everything on this program. Just say, as long as I pass level 1 or level 2, I will get the job. You still need to work on the other things and make sure you're managing your time or managing your priorities in the most effective way. Okay, that's it for today, guys. Congratulations to making all the way to the end of this video. You're being persistent, which is a great habit to have. Now we're going to do this unboxing of this gift. This gift from the CFA Institute once you become a CFA Charterholder. Now before we do that, relating to today's content, the CFA program and the 2 traps, what's your thoughts, views? Are you currently taking the CFA program? We would love to see your comments below. And remember to give this video a thumbs up. Okay, now here we go. So you get this gift. It's kind of funny feeling when you receive it because you have been putting down probably $3,000 to $4,000 US already to them. It's good to receive something from them. It says you are a difference that matters. Right? It probably means you matters to the society, you matters to the financial world. Now I'm not sure if we matter to the financial world, but we definitely matter to the CFA Institute because from now on, we're going to pay annual dues, right? A few $100s for many, many years. So essentially, CFA Institute has built themselves a fixed income or annuity, which we'll talk more about probably in the future episode, what it exactly is annuity. Okay, now let's unbox this thing. What do you think is inside this little box? So if you open it, on the left side, you actually see sort of like an oath, right? You really need to follow those standards. As a CFA Charterholder, I will. It goes into depth where you have to remain integrity to the market. You have to exercise reasonable care when you're making investment decisions. You have to basically help out people in this industry. You want to be of a resources to them. And more importantly, as I mentioned earlier, you want to continuously learn through this process, continuously update your knowledge base. And to the right, you see those 3 little holes. Now, basing on the shape, what do you think are these items? Take a guess. Leave your comments below. Let's see if you guessed correctly. We'll review them in our next episode. Now, in our next episode, we'll talk about something that we get asked a lot of times, which is I call it the 3 philosophical questions relating to CFA. One is, how much money am I going to make? Am I going to make a lot of money, right, as a CFA Charterholder? Number 2 is, am I going to work insane hours? Am I going to work 80 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours? Am I going to do overtime? So basically, is this job, does it provide me with work-life balance? And number 3, after the CFA designation, is really the one designation for all, or do I still need other designations in the asset management or investment world? So if you're interested in these, make sure you subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up, and we'll review it to you in our next episode. Now, on your journey to financial freedom, we need to form some good habits. So why don't we start with the following 3 little habits? If you haven't done so, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and share with your friends, families, buddies, CFA test takers who you probably have discussed similar topics with. Let's think and grow financially free together. Money so tasty, retire so early. Until next time, remember, you're freer than you think.